Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. How are you this evening? Just say wonderful, good. How many of you are from the Northern District? Please raise your hand. All right, give yourselves a round of applause for coming out tonight. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm sure you've made time for us, for joining the mayor and police commissioner for an evening of engagement. Tonight is the ninth, we're in the ninth, tonight is the 10th Public Safety Forum, but the ninth that's held in a police district. We had one that was actually a youth-oriented forum that was well attended and very productive. We believe that tonight, certainly you are ready for a treat. We are looking to go straight into, pardon me, we're looking to go straight into the forum. Those of you who came in, you should have received a survey. And as you came in with the survey, I hope that you've completed it. If you did not complete it or you do not have a pen, there are staff members throughout the room who have clipboards with surveys on the clipboards, and they can assist you in completing the survey. Sounds like the sound is going in and out. I'll just continue to speak into the mic. Also, there is a mini link that you can go online with your smartphone or your iPad or your laptop and complete the survey online, and that's scrolling on the PowerPoint presentation. Without further ado, I would like to welcome up Mr. Sawyer. Mr. Sawyer is from Loyola University, and he will open with greetings. Please give him a round of applause.
Good evening. Good evening. I will be brief. I just want to welcome you all. My name is Terry Sawyer. I'm the Vice President for Administration here at Loyola. I've worked at Loyola almost 17 years, and I can honestly say in all that time, I've never felt safer on this campus than I do right now. I want to welcome the mayor and our police commissioner, Anthony Batts, as well as all the members of the administration, our city council members, and all of you, our neighbors and citizens. I want to commend the mayor and the commissioner for this really extensive tour that they've been on in engaging the community. We feel very grateful for the partnership we have with the city and the Baltimore City Police Department. And in true university higher ed fashion, I look forward to an evening of honest and civil discourse, exchange of ideas on issues that matter to all of us. So thank you very much. Welcome to Loyola. We're so happy to have you here. And I will turn it over to Gus, who will start our program. Thank you for coming to Loyola.
Mr. Sawyer, thank you. I would like to introduce also Ms. Lisa Boyce, who I saw earlier. And if you would raise your hand and come up. Did I not see her? I did see her earlier. Well, first of all, let me introduce you to a young man who actually serves as the community liaison for the Northern District as well as the Western. His name is Demetrius Melisham. There's another meeting running tonight, so Demetrius will have to skate out a little early, but we have other liaisons who will remain here, and certainly we will remain throughout the forum. And at the end, those of you who were not able to ask your question or your question was not answered, you would like to continue that dialogue, there will be staff members here as well as, and I again say, you have your survey which captures your information, and we can certainly follow up with you. Now, I would like to present to you my boss, our mayor, Mayor Stephanie Rawlings-Blake.
Thank you so much. All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It is my pleasure to be with all of you. I want to thank all of the residents and community leaders who have come out this evening. Many of you, this is not your first Public Safety Forum. So those of you who have traveled along with us as we have gone throughout the city, thank you very much. Terry, and to everyone here at Loyola, I'm certainly grateful for your partnership and your willingness to host us this evening and seeing the crucial role, the critical role that Loyola plays in this community. I want to thank all of the elected officials. We ask them to stand. City Councilman Nick Mosby. City Council, thank you. City Councilwoman Sharon Middleton. City Councilwoman Ricky Spector. City Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark. And City Councilman Carl Stokes. I know I saw, there you go, Councilman Bill Henry. I don't know why you don't feel comfortable sitting with the rest of your colleagues. So here they are, right up here. They're saving a seat for you. Well, you can still stand, City Councilman Bill Henry. I want to thank the commissioner for being here, as well as members of your team, Commissioner Batts, and we're doing a lot of positive work in this district. I'm glad to be here. We saved the best district for last, and we are here to talk about the work that we're doing and to get some feedback so we can ensure that we are doing right by the communities in the Northern District. The cornerstone of our crime fight is focused on violent repeat offenders. We want to avoid policies in which the entire community feels that they are under siege. We're very targeted. We know that there's a very, very small number of individuals who are responsible for the vast majority of violent crime in our city. And our goal is to identify those individuals and do everything that we can to ensure that that we make life difficult for them to engage in continued criminal conduct. We're working to make our police force more nimble and technologically savvy so that we can be proactive in removing these criminals from the streets before they commit another violent crime. I worked to bring Operation Ceasefire to Baltimore, and I'm very pleased that initiative is a community-based initiative that focuses on group-related or gang-related and group-related violence, and I'm encouraged by the progress that we're seeing in the Western District, where we've rolled out Operation Ceasefire. In my State of the City address, I announced that I would be bringing Operation Ceasefire as a part of our efforts to combat violent crime. This will supplement our efforts in focusing on the most violent repeat offenders. And over the past several weeks, my administration has been working very closely to get the program up and running. It's shown great promise in reducing homicides in other big cities, and it will help us to work hand in hand with the community in an all-hands-on-deck approach to fighting crime. This will be a collaborative effort across several agencies in my administration, as well as law enforcement partners outside of, at all levels of government, I should say. I think the reason why we chose to do these public forums, these town halls, is because in order for Baltimore to be a substantially safer city and for that change to be sustained, we have to do it in partnership with the community members. When I prepared to interview for the position, interview candidates for the position of police commissioner, I had a series of meetings. I met with, I think, almost 30 members of the community from different communities, business leaders, civic leaders, about what they wanted to see when it comes to Baltimore's next police commissioner. And at that time, they all said the same thing, that they wanted a partner. They wanted someone who would view the community not as adversaries, but as partners in our efforts to make Baltimore a safer city. And I knew that it was important that we continue to work to build bridges to those communities that are crucial in making sure that we reach that goal. I'm very proud that we've seen a significant increase in the number of citizens who are reporting crime, and they're calling in tips to the police. That will continue to be vital as we work to make Baltimore safer. We cannot do it alone. The police, all of our officers, our detectives, and police officers at every level need to be in relationship with the community that has the information that will help us identify these repeat violent offenders. So it is in that spirit that we are here today, to increase the partnership between the communities and the police, so that together, working in a solid partnership, we work to reduce crime. We've also increased resources for Metro Crime Stoppers because we know that we are combating a stop snitching culture. And one thing that creates a counter to that culture is a financial incentive. And we've increased a financial incentive for people who are turning in information that leads to a gun arrest. The number for that is 8667-LOCK-UP. And, I will show you that. We'll talk about the number one more time. I think we might even have it on the information that's been spread around. That's 8667-LOCK-UP. So if you have information that you would like to share, please don't hesitate to use that number. We urge you to speak up. I understand that public safety is more than just our efforts in law enforcement, and I've made strengthening our communities and making Baltimore better for Baltimore families a priority of mine. I know that in order for us to be a safer city, we have to work to get more Baltimore residents in good jobs so they can provide for their family, and we've worked to increase funding for job training and work diligently to help grow jobs in Baltimore. I know that in order for Baltimore to be safer, we have to eliminate blight that we've seen in too many of our communities. And I'm very pleased that my vacancy value blight elimination plan is making a difference on the ground and is getting national and international acclaim for innovative government as a program that is working to strengthen communities and make a difference. It's bringing hope to the streets in communities that felt that they had been abandoned, and renewed investment to show people who have been good stewards of their property that a new day is coming. And I'm excited about that. And I'm through the roof excited about the possibilities for Baltimore when we take a look at what's coming down the road with our school construction money. I mean, the Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark was there at the opening of the Waverly with the new addition for Waverly, and I think about how happy the children were, the students were, how happy the community was, how happy alumni of the school were, and think about that happening over and over again. 15 brand new schools across the city, 35 fully renovated schools because of the efforts of you and me and many others in the community to bring $1.1 billion in school construction funds to Baltimore City. That is an unprecedented level of investment, and it speaks volumes to what is possible in Baltimore, and it speaks volumes to the testament of the positive future for our city. So I want to thank all of you again for being here, and I'm looking forward to a great conversation this evening. Thank you very much. And with that, I am going to bring up Commissioner Batts, or over Commissioner Batts.
Thank you, ma'am. Very quickly, what I've been told at these meetings is that we didn't want to go through a long introduction of command staff. We want to get to the questions within the audience, which I look forward to. But I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce the people who do the hard work on a daily basis. They don't always get the recognition that they deserve for the hard work that they do. But I'm very proud to, number one, introduce the person I'm accountable to. Actually, the person I'm accountable to is the mayor. You just heard her. But under the mayor, you have the deputy mayor, who is Robert Maloney, who's off to the side there. Give him a round of applause. Come on, you guys, give it up. It's the most amazing thing. You know, when I come to these meetings, what happens is you introduce the mayor, everybody goes, yeah, it's the mayor, and then after that, just dies. You know, like, come on, give us some claps here. I also want to introduce the person who oversees the area, because the Northern District is part of an area. There's 3 districts that make up Area 2, and I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Keith Matthews. And the commander that I put in charge of this district, I'd like to introduce Major Kim Burris. You already know her. And on the end here, we have a gentleman that one of the first promotions that I had as I walked in the door. His job is to foster and open up doors with better alliances, liaisons with our community. Lieutenant Colonel Mel Russell. And a gentleman who I brought in who used to do the prosecution of cases on police officers for misconduct, and we kind of moved him over and brought him over. He is an ex-police officer and an attorney, too, at the same time, so he comes with a tremendous amount of expertise. So I'd like to introduce Internal Affairs Chief Rodney Hill. And I think I covered everybody. If I didn't, is anybody who I missed? See, other than Shorty? Now Gus over here is telling me sit down because we've done the introductions. You're taking up my time. I'll be very quick and I'll sit down within the next 2 minutes. This is the Baltimore Police Department Strategic Plan, and I talk a lot about this, and my conversation comes off of this. My staff meetings every Monday is based off of this document. When we do testing for sergeants, lieutenants, captains, majors, lieutenant colonels, it comes off of this document. And what I'm trying to do is inculcate what is in this document within the culture of the police department. And you may say, why is that? Within this document, this is not something that I put together, and these are the edicts coming from Tony Batts. Why this is so special to me, and the mayor said it, why this is so special to me is that in this document are the voices of the residents of Baltimore. And within this document, the residents in the city have said, these are the expectation levels that we want from you. And they've also given us a grade to where we are today. We're not meeting those expectations right now, but this is what our goals are. My function, my responsibility, and my job is to move this organization from where it is today to where this community, the men and women, the residents, the citizens who pay our salaries, want it to be. And so this is why this is so important to me, is because what I'm trying to build is a customer-driven police organization. Not an organization that is apart from its community, or an organization that is responsive to its community as a whole. Number two, within this document, why it's so important, are the voices of the employees, the men and women who work in the Baltimore Police Department. So I didn't try to hide anything in this document. Good, bad, the ugly, the challenges, and the things that we do well are in this document. So if you want to know where we're going, the things that we're doing, why we're doing them, they're all in this document. You can get this online. You will get 98% of everything that I have in this document. The 2% that you don't have are our deployment numbers. And I'm not putting those things out there, but this is our guiding light. What I am very proud of, the fact that, as the mayor said, is throughout the city as a whole, is that our overall crime rate is down. And this is an oxymoronic statement, I say this, but is an immediate contradiction. Our crime rate is down in all categories except, which is the oxymoron that I say, auto theft. And we see an increase in our auto theft right now of about 9%, but homicides, shootings, rapes, burglaries, larcenies, you have reductions throughout the city as a whole and continues to be that way. As we talk about the northern, we have a couple areas that are up that we are going to see that are down. The vast majority are trending in the right direction. Our homicides are down. Our shootings are down. Over the last month and a half, our burglaries are continue to go down, so they're going in the right direction. This time last year, the councilwoman, Mary Pat Clark, was telling me that those numbers were going the opposite direction. So what I made sure is that Major Burris has started focusing on that. She has taken the prerogative of putting overtime officers in different areas and has seen a reduction and continues to see a reduction. So we're going in the right direction. Our excessive force complaints within this department are down 45%. Which are huge. Our complaints overall from our citizens are down 30%, which are huge. So what we're saying is our crime rate is down, our use of force complaints are down, our overall complaints are down. We're moving in the right direction, we're making gains, and we're building an organization that is responsive to our community. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Before you start to move into questions, I know that I'm certainly grateful to have so many of the council members here, and each member represents a different part of the district. So instead of trying to figure out who has the largest percentage, because I'm just not going to do that at this late hour, I will give deference to the person who served the longest and ask if the dean of the council would like to speak on behalf of the members who are here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I appreciate that, Madam Mayor, but I think we all would rather hear from the people here. Thank you very much, and I know my colleagues feel the same way.
Thank you, Ricky.
Madam Mayor, I know that I saw a few folks that have joined as partners as we've promoted tonight's public safety forum. If you would just acknowledge by raising your hand, Ms. Eileen Gwynn of York Road Partnerships. Actually, I walked in with Eileen. It's good to see you. Why don't you just stand up and wave to everyone? She took a crew of folks out this past weekend canvassing. We have Vistas who are here in the Northern District that also assisted. Also saw Keith Dickens of Mid-Govans. Yes, there, yeah. I saw. Good to see you. Stand up, Keith. It's good to see you. Vice President of the Remington Neighborhood Association, Mr. Doug Armstrong. If you would raise your hand or certainly stand. I saw Doug when I came. There he is, being bashful and shy. It's good to see you, Doug. Sandy Sparks, President of the Charles Village Civic Association. I know I saw Sandy. Oh, there she is. Please raise your hand. Good to see you. Also, Joe Stewart of Bell Terrace. Joe. Belterre. Yes, good to see you, Joe. All right. So tonight we will go into the Q&A portion. I can guarantee you that at most of the public safety forums, there were some folks who just did not get a chance simply because of the time. We ran out of time. But tonight we're going to go straight into the Q&A portion. We have Mr. Christian Song, who is on my right, your left, and he will be holding a microphone. And so when you raise your hand and I acknowledge you, you can make your way towards, well, Christian will make his way towards you. On my left and your right is Mr. Larry Nunley, who will be holding the mic for this evening. And I saw Keith with your hand up. And Keith, you're going to get the first question. Christian. Keith, you want to stand? Okay.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
okay, you the mic stand?
Yeah, something like that.
With the curfew, what is we gonna do? What's gonna be the procedure for the officers as far as pulling up on the children, as far as the brutality and things of that sort? Because we have a lot of officers within our area that do not know how to control themselves and do not know how to talk to the community, nor do they know how to handle their own job. They give out false document numbers so that they can, do what they want to do.
I'll start and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Batts. Again, thank you for your leadership in the community and for the question. I will say that making sure that we get it right is a priority for me. As we have enforced the curfew during the summer for years, what we have seen is a steady decline in the number of discourtesy complaints. So that is a focus on training and a renewed focus on making sure every single officer, I speak to the officers as they are coming out of the academy to reinforce it. I ask them to engage with the public the way that they would want someone to speak with their family. I think that that's what it boils down to. And we know that there are gaps in intention and reality in many cases, and our goal is to lean on the community to help us identify those officers that need additional training. Yeah, you come on, you know that you really don't know how to get in touch with us. You don't have a real. Right. I mean, the person to contact is the person who is in charge of your district, and we've identified the leader of the district. And if that doesn't work, you always have the internal affairs. So we want to make sure that you're giving us that information. And I'll make sure, Christian, if you think that there's information that you can't give through the police, you can always give it through him for us to deal with, right, through the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood. So the commissioner is going to talk more specifically about the levels and the types of training that we have to make sure that we get it right on the enforcement. But I do take that very seriously. We have been enforcing the curfew and doing it in a way that has not led to spikes in complaints from the young people and from the parents. This is always, for me and for, I know, the sponsor, been about connecting families in need with the resources they need, and that will always be the focus on my end, and making sure that we're doing it in a way that's respectful. I grew up back in the Officer Friendly days, so the notion that we're trying to reduce the contact of young people with police is foreign to me, because when I was growing up, they gave us coloring books and we played games and all of those things. It's not the quantity of the engagement, it's the quality. And I think if we continue to strive to train in a way that creates positive contacts, that for me is the relationship that I want to build with the community and the police department. Commissioner?
My standard and my expectation is that this organization treats anyone and everyone that they come in contact with professionally and constitutionally. And what the goal is and the expectation is, when you walk away with from an interaction with police officers in the city of Baltimore, I want you to walk away and go, wow, they did the extra. They gave good service to the community and lived up beyond the expectations of what the community says. Now, what I try to do is set an example, even by the things that I do and the walk that I have within the community. I spend a lot of time in the community. I spend a lot of time listening to residents within the community, where the community has trauma or there's issues, or when a council person calls me and says, I want you in the meeting, I show up and I'm there. And I do a lot of listening. And what we're trying to build as we go forth is an organization that brings hope. And it doesn't exacerbate problems or challenges that we already have within our community. And I say that not growing up in Baltimore, but growing up in South Central LA in a very impoverished environment where there was gang violence and dysfunctionality and a lot of other things that took place. And so I do this job because this is where my heart is. I do this job because this is where my love and my passion is, to make a difference for young kids out there on our streets. Part of the things that I've done is promote these people that I introduce. They all care. They all care, and they want to make a difference, and they want to make a change, and they want to do a revolution within the Baltimore Police Department, and they want to grow the level of pride. Now, curfew, I was out a couple weeks ago at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning, and I go out on a regular basis, and I stay out there to make sure and talk to my officers, see how the officers are interacting, see what's going on. And I ran into a group of 12, 13, 14-year-old kids who are out, and I'm not exaggerating, at 3 a.m. in the morning riding their bikes. And, at my stage of life, in my mid-50s, I'm lucky to be up that late. But when you have 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds riding around on their bicycle without any parental guidance, we stopped them and said, what are you guys doing out here? And we weren't doing it from a law enforcement standpoint. We were doing like, what are you kids doing out here? You can get hurt, being out here late without, parental guidance. And I asked them, do you guys have cell phones? And they say, yeah, we have cell phones. Can you call your parents? And so they called the parents, and I talked to one dad on the phone, and I said, do you know where your kids are? And he says, yeah, they're over at so-and-so and so-and-so. And I said, no, that's not where they're at. And he goes, oh, my goodness. And I said, could you come and get your kids, because I don't want them out here by themselves at 3 o'clock in the morning. There is no reason why a 12-year-old child should be out at 3 a.m. in the morning out having fun. What kind of fun is out on any streets, in any urban environment, any city at any given point in time? And so the dad came out and responded and took custody. And the only reason I'm telling you that is setting the tone. What I expect from the officers is we're not focused at arresting our kids. Our focus is making sure that they're safe. And that's where we really want to push. So when my officers are out and they encounter kids, and the kids have cell phones, I like them to call the parents and say, hey, come pick up your kids. That's my first step. The second step is, if they're close to the home, I want the officers to take the kids and take them home. I want to take them and say, and drop off to the parents and let them know. And if we can't do that, then the third step is going to the center. And what the center is there to do is reunite the child with the parent and make sure that the parents are aware of what's taking place. And so from at least my standpoint of my control point, we're putting out a video within the organization based on the same expectations that I'm saying to you right now, what I want the officers to do. But also, I'm going to roll call meetings along with the councilman who was the author of the bill himself. And we're going from roll call to share with them to set the tone of what I want them to do. Now, what I have to say, too, is that the curfew is not new. This city has had a curfew since 1994. And so this is not where we're doing anything new or we're breaking new ground. Only thing that's happened is that the hours have been rolled forward, an hour, I believe. And so this is not critical pieces, and there's not critical changes that are going on. And the mayor was talking about it, and I just happen to be a little older than she is. Well, a lot older than she is. But I grew up doing this stage, and I was raised by Southern parents. You know, my parents are from Mississippi and North Carolina, and when that sun was setting, you better have your posterity in the house. I mean, that's how my community were raised. And I told you, I was raised in a very tough community. But when that sun started to set, you needed to be in the house. And I think somebody was saying, I don't know who it was, that said if they turned the porch light on, you better beat the porch light. I think that might have been you, Gus.
Yes, sir.
But that's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to harm our community. We're not trying to harm the kids. I spend a lot of time going to the high schools, listening to our young people. I have a youth advisory that I sit down. And the interaction, and there again, how I see it, all these young kids are that Tony Batts at 8 years old out there on the street, and I want them to have an opportunity. I want them to succeed. I don't want to get them hurt. See, I get to respond out there to these scenes. When there's violence on our street, I get to go out there. I get to see the remnants of what happens on these streets, and I don't want that happening anymore in any context. And that comes from trying to drop the crime rate and the violent rate, but also protecting young people out here on the streets. It's just unacceptable.
Thank you, sir. So before we go into the next question, and I want to get a show of hands, those of you who have completed your survey so far. I'm pushing the survey really big. Raise your hand if you've already completed the survey. Oh, we got to do a little better than that. Well, I see a few hands out there. Good, good, good. Keith, it's good to see that you've completed the survey. All right. We're going to go into the next. Yes, ma'am. You have a question? You can stand. Christian? By the way, when we go to the question, someone slipped me a note and said that there were a few students here from Loyola. Are there any students here from the? Oh, cool. All right, there you are. I'll make sure we get a question from you. Yes, that's right. Lift them up high. Great, great, great. All right. Yes,
First of all, thank you for your service, both of you, to this great city. I've been a city resident for the last 15 years. I was born and raised here. I've lived in the Homeland section of Baltimore for the last decade. In the past 2 years, particularly in the summer, we have seen an increase in attempted B&Es, and with nothing being done about it. And as you concentrate on more violent crime and reducing more violent crime, my question is, what are you doing to make sure these communities are safe, especially during these crime spikes? And let me give you an example. We are at the point where people go shopping in our cars at night. People throw rocks through our windows to try and break in. It's bad. And no one wants to talk about it because they're worried about depreciating property values. And that takes me to the next point. Nobody benefits from that. Not us, not the city, not the finance department, nobody.
So I agree. No one benefits when we're not being honest about the crime that's going on. And one of the reasons why I fought hard in partnership with the commissioner and in collaboration with the FOP for this new contract. We need to be a more nimble police force. We need to be able to have our focus on repeat violent offenders at the same time that we are protecting the quality of life and addressing the needs of the citizens, regardless of your neighborhood. And we are looking forward to the implementation of that contract, because it will give us more feet on the street so that officers aren't just responding to 911 calls, but they can do a few things that I know from talking to residents at the forums that consistent. Residents say they want more, to be able to see more police officers on patrol, and they want to be able to have officers to be able to respond to more than just the emergency calls for service. So when you have officers that are more present, it will be a deterrent for the type of crime that you're talking about. So I'm going to ask the commissioner to speak to the broader issue, and then specifically to the increase in B&E in Northern District. I'd like to hear from the major.
And I thank you so very much for sharing. But beyond thanking you, I want to do something about it. And so what I'm going to have is the Lieutenant Colonel, Keith Matthews, is going to come over, get your information. I would ask that you invite myself, and what I will bring is my Deputy Commissioner in charge of patrol, the chief that's under him, the Lieutenant Colonel, and the Major, and we'll come out to your meeting. I want to know what's going on. I want to see it. I want to feel it, and we will have a response to it. So I appreciate it. Okay, can I hold on 1 second and I'll give it back to you? So Major Burst, could you come up for a second and share what's been going on, but I don't want to just stop there. What I want to do, and then maybe as we go on, I want to come out and actually have a meeting and move forward with that, and hopefully sometime soon. So within the next 7 days or 10 days, let me know. I'll bring my staff. We'll be there. Okay.
We have seen an increase in burglaries this year. We see a spike a lot of times in the summer, and it's not just in the Homeland area, a lot of the neighborhoods in the district. We do have overtime deployment in several of the areas, and Homeland and Guilford is one of those areas that we have the overtime deployment in. We have, however, been able to decrease our burglaries over the last 28 days, and we're working continuously to continue that decrease. We've made several arrests in the last 28 days. For the month of June, we've made 9 burglary arrests, and over the year, we've made several good arrests for burglaries. So we are working very hard to continue to decrease our burglaries right now.
And I think the major is working hard, but what I want you to walk away with is away from us making arrests and away from us talking about stats. If the reality for you is that that's not happening, then we need to change. And so I want to come out to the meeting, so please invite. We'll get your information. Lieutenant Colonel, if you would fall back and get the lady's name, her address, her information, and let's get out there. So feel free to go ahead right now to get that information out, and we'll follow up.
Yes, sir. You're the community president.
Yes, sir. My name is Angus Everton. I'm the president of the Homeland Association. Major Commissioner Batts, you're invited to our annual meeting, which will be in October, but we'll give you the specific date.
Can we have a sooner one so I could get a grip on this problem in the next 7 or 10 days?
Well, we will have a board meeting the third Thursday in August, but I'll see if I can't do something before that.
Okay, I'll offer, if you want me at the meeting, I'll come, but if you want me sooner, I'd love to come out sooner in a short amount of time.
See what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. And she knows that I'm just keeping my word from the other night. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. I first want to say that I always hear Commissioner Batts, and he's always talking about hope. And that word means a whole lot to my family. I just want to kind of break down acronyms of the word hope and different words and whatnot. But hope, to me, comes from God and churches, holding on, praying every day. Because when you have to deal with a justice system that is not fair or just, it saddens our heart. And the saddest part, when road cops plague our communities where the poor or the people that's barely making it from working from a job, from two paychecks away from being homeless. Commissioner Bass also in the police department makes us cope. And cope means criminals on payroll. Criminals on payroll every day. And we're paying their salaries. If that's not enough, our outgoing racist state's attorney, Greg Bernstein, always says nope. And that's nope to doing his job. And that's no officers prosecuted ever. And our citizens, and y'all treat us like we're uneducated and that we're on dope or something. You know, like eyewitnesses, like basically don't see what they see, like we're not credible. And it's just really sad. And I look at the young man, Eric Gardner, on July the 17th, 2014, this year in New York City, that was brutally murdered. And they had witnesses standing on the street videoing him. This man needed help. And the saddest part, no one helped him.
Right,
and it took me back
I'm not
to my brother.
I'm going to ask you to get to a question.
Okay, but no.
In all fairness to the other residents who are here tonight.
Okay, that's fine. I'm almost done.
So let her.
And as I was stating, so nobody should feel the pain that none of the community is feeling. And I'm not here to attack anybody. I'm just a victim. I'm just the voice of victims of police brutality. The ones that are in their grave resting now, that they can't even be here, that their life was just cut short. And I just want to know what is going to be done. It needs to be a connect within the police department back to cities, because we need police officers. We need good ones. And y'all want a curfew law. How do I feel if Nicholas Davis Chapman pick up my 8-year-old? which my 8-year-old won't be out at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So before did you want to make a comment, Commissioner?
Yes, what I have to share is this row is part of the Tyrone West family, and I have to applaud the West family because they've been very engaged. There's a passion that they have that they want to find the truth to an interaction, and this came from an arrest process, and in doing that arrest, Mr. West passed. Now, why I say that is that what my job and my responsibility doing my tenure and what my responsibility is, and I say this with all respect, and I thank you for respecting the process of allowing everyone to talk and me too at the same time. What we are doing and what the process is to find the facts. And so what we're doing and what the mayor has directed me to do is to make sure that we find the facts and then try to get away from having any bias to make sure people are not saying that we're circling the wagons within the police department or we're trying to hide anything. I've put together an outside panel. Now, what the West family would say is that this panel is not moving fast enough, and I can understand that. Within a short amount of time in the future, the results of that panel should be coming out. And in that panel, what we're going to do is just share the facts and share the truth. And that's what my responsibility is to do. But within those, there's always two sides to each story. And so my responsibility is to get the side of our residents. My responsibility is to get the side of the police officers and provide the facts. And in fact, if we have done something wrong, I will hold them accountable. In fact, if the officers didn't do anything wrong, I will share that too. Whatever comes out of that, that board will come forth and share what took place, and that's our responsibility, and that's what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Didn't do anything wrong, sir. Made them pay them, get them stopped.
Yes, ma'am.
You explain 10 to 15 officers. You explain that to me so I can sleep at night. That was my boy. That was my child. 10 to 15, he on the ground screaming, stop beating me. They kicked him in his head when he was gone. They beat the crap out of my boy. Explain that to me, sir, so me and my family can sleep. All I hear is my child screaming, crying, stop the beat.
So, to the residents of the Northern District, if you don't know, there is a small group of people who have followed us around to each of these public safety forums. So we're going to let the group exit the building on their own. And we're going to take a question from the young lady in the blue that's in the back. Thank you for your patience. Yes, ma'am. Kristen, you want to make your way back to the... So my apologies. And I think, yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank
I'm
you
sorry.
For your patience.
Just a change of the subject at the moment. Good evening. Thank you for being here this afternoon. I'm a resident of the Chinkapin Park community. And I wanted to maybe... Major Burris can address this. We've seen also an increase during the summer months of drug activity in the neighborhood. It's a working class neighborhood, so people are working during the daytime. Our streets tend to be pretty quiet, especially along Northwood Drive. We front the park. We have seen a rise in people who don't live in the neighborhood showing up and just parking there. We do call the police, as we are encouraged to do. Unfortunately, a lot of the times, the police show up late when the person has then taken off. We have given tag numbers. But I still see a lot of activity. So I wanted to know what is being done to address that in the Chinkapin Park area.
And Kim, if you can make your way up here. And at the same thing, ma'am, we're going to get your information. And as I stated, if you want me out there in that area, please let me know. I like to come out and I like to see it myself to make sure that we have a response to it.
And as the major comes to speak, one of the things that we are continuously focused on is trying to figure out how we can, what are the gaps and how can we fill those gaps. And what we know is as we are putting the pressure, we're putting pressure on when I talk about focusing on violent repeat offenders, I'm not just talking about it, they're feeling it. And what we know is that it's just like a balloon in some cases. When you put the pressure on one part of the balloon, before it breaks, that pressure will move to another part of the balloon. And I know that is what we're seeing, that spillage in some communities. So our commitment is to end it, not just where it originated, but where it travels to. And for that, I'll turn it over to the major.
Well, we do investigate those type of cases. Each district has a district operations unit, and that will be compiled of our drug unit and what we call our flex unit. And when you call the police, although you may not see a blue and white car, the fact that you gave us the tag number allows the drug unit to conduct an investigation on that vehicle. I want you to continue to call the police so that we can compile this list of vehicles, that we continue to do the investigations, and then kind of prevent the acts from happening in your neighborhood. They're using specific neighborhoods as yours to go undetected because they're quiet and they're nice. But we do need that information in order to conduct the proper investigations.
Thank you, Major. And I just would like to say thank you.
And I know the Major's spoken. I know the Lieutenant, the Deputy, I believe, is back there with the resident. But I want you to know that it's our commitment to make sure that we're getting it right. Yeah, I know that we've talked about taking the tags. This isn't the first neighborhood where we've seen this spillage, and we're going to take the approach of using the tag numbers and everything else we've learned from those other communities until we get it right. Because we're not. My goal is not to make Baltimore some neighborhoods safer at the expense of others. That's a zero sum. I want us all to feel safer. I want us all to be safer. So the commitment is to get this right, and it is clear that we have some work to do in this area.
All right. Our next question is coming from this side, and before we get to our resident, I just want to thank those of you who have gone online and completed the survey. I see that some of you have already linked to the survey, so thank you. And I'm going to continue to push the survey, continue to push the survey, continue to push the survey. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioner. How are you doing, Stephanie? My name is Cedric Crump. I'm from the 600 block of Tunbridge Road. You mentioned how you're targeting the violent offenders. We have an issue in our neighborhood that goes way back to last year. We had one of our first homicides on the block last year. We worked extensively with Northern District and the Council District, giving them the information you required. And what it led up to was a child getting killed on the front steps. Well, that action is being repeated this year, and we continue to give information, call 911. But it appears that the strategy is to move it to the next block and out of our area only for it to return. We have a serious problem. I would like to work with somebody. My neighbors are here. Other people of the community are here. We need some help.
We will follow up. I will be there. I need to sit down. I want to hear. I want to see. I want to get out there. So I want to know what's going on.
It's somebody we can talk to tonight.
You will talk to me. You can talk to me tonight. The lieutenant colonel who's back there in that situation, he will be over to you next to sit down and talk to you. And I'll be here afterwards too. If you want to talk to me afterwards, I'll be around here.
That's definitely good.
Yeah, and again, I mean I think all of us that are here understand that it didn't get like this overnight. It's not going to change. So I want to say that I appreciate your willingness to continue to work with us even through the frustration. The commissioner's made the commitment that he will personally follow up. I want to make sure that happens. So please follow up with my office, and I'll make sure that the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood follows up with you as well, and that we stay on it. The police will be on it, and I'll be vigilant on it as well. We're gonna definitely. You won't leave here without talking to somebody, and the commissioner made the personal commitment to follow up with you.
Okay.
So there's a Lieutenant Colonel who's Lieutenant Colonel Matthew. Yes, Chief. I'm sorry. Oh, that's what I thought. I was right. So Lieutenant Colonel, I thought he said Chief, who's talking with a resident right now. But as soon as he's finished, he can come to you, and he's going to pull you back. And there are other residents in the room who may feel more comfortable outside of the room speaking with an officer. And certainly, I'm sure we have some officers on hand for that.
The lieutenant's making his way down the aisle right now. He's going to talk to you right now.
All right. So, yes, sir, in the yellow. And if you please, if you would, just give us your name, and then you can give the question.
Sure. My name is Joe Stewart, and I just have two things I wanted to say. One is that in the Northern District, we have a very long history of close relationships between the Northern District police officers, the community relations officers, and communities and neighborhoods. And I hope that the city, both the mayor's office and the police department, will support our Northern District Community Council and support the community relations officers. William O'Donnell is not here tonight, but Douglas Gibson is here tonight. And I swear, and I know Mary Pat would agree, that we have the best community relations officers in Baltimore City. And we want to keep them. And I think we have a lot to show the city and other districts about role models for how we can work together, community and the police. But that's one point. The other thing I wanted to say, and it's not to detract from any priorities that have already been set, but there's always a need to look at new priorities and things that have been neglected. And one thing that I know has been neglected, and I think it's important for the mayor's strategy to bring new people to live in Baltimore City, is that we have to change the culture of the way people drive their vehicles. Every morning, every afternoon, every evening, I see people going through red lights, not stopping at stop signs, going twice the speed limit in my neighborhood. And I think that we've got to find some way to start dealing with this and not accept that people can drive like they're entitled to drive, without repercussions. And I don't know how we're going to do that, but I think it's very important, and it's important to bring new people into the city that they feel safe walking the streets. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stewart. I want to again thank you for your being here and for the work that you've done in your community. And I'll say I wholeheartedly agree that we need to figure out a better way to do things when it comes to getting people to follow the traffic rules. I think it's a problem that we have grappled with, and many jurisdictions have grappled with around the country, and we're still looking for the solution that gets it right. A transparent process or transparent enforcement that is reliable, and it's something that the community can have trust in. And that's certainly my goal, and I agree that it should continue to be a priority, because at the end of the day, the reason why we focused on brought the issue of the speed light cameras, the red light cameras, all of those things through the legislature didn't start with an interest in revenue generation. It started with pleas from the community to improve safety and to do what we could to improve safety, particularly around the places where kids, walk to and walk from school, which is a particular, kids are vulnerable when they're out. Many of them walking by themselves to and from school. So we're on the same page that we need a solution to that.
Thank you very much for your comments, and thank you very much for supporting our neighborhood community policing officers. But, one of the things I'm doing with the NSUs is any meeting that I go to, everybody applauds the NSUs. They say they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. They're wonderful, and every district says I have the best that are around. What I want to do is build all of our police officers into the NSUs. I think they're the framework. The community connects with them. There's information that's shared on a regular basis. So we're going to take that concept and expand. I work with our CRCs on a regular basis. I've really made them part of our organization and connected more with them than what has been done in the past. I bring them in for our promotional examinations. I meet with them every other month, but now when we do promotions, because our promotions are off this document is about what the community says and the community voices. I bring them in and they sit on this side of the table, and they help do the selections of our command staff, and have been, and they will be in the future. So to your point that are we working closer together? We are working closer together. We're gonna continue to work closer together, and not just that part of the community, even parts of the community that don't say kind things about us. I outstretch my hand. I work with people who may take shots at us, but within those shots, there's truth and there's honesty. So we're going beyond just people who support us, people who think that we need to change. We will bring them in and make friends. We've extended our hand to the ACLU, the NAACP, any other group who's willing to work to make our organization better as a whole. And I think those are all positives because I work for all the different pieces. So we'll take that concept and expand. Our car stops have gone up this year dramatically. We're doing car stops, whether for red lights, stop signs, throughout the city on a higher level than we have before, and we're tracking that, and I can get the numbers for you. But part of the reason that we're doing that is to combat in certain areas stolen vehicles that are taking place within our community. Our rate was up, which was a dramatic concern for me, so we're addressing those. We're also addressing areas where we have youth and kids, as the mayor said, are out for safety, so we're addressing that. We're also addressing them in high crime areas where the transportation of guns are taking place. So throughout the city as a whole, we're doing a lot more car stops. We will continue to do that. We track that on a monthly basis. So on all your comments, I'm in support, I'm in support, I'm in support, and we will continue.
Thank you, sir. There was a hand up in the yellow. Yes, ma'am. And then we'll come to the gentleman here on the fourth
Yes, I
row.
wanted to follow up on the concern about traffic safety. I live in Hamden, and one afternoon in broad daylight, I saw somebody do a complete U-turn at the intersection of Elm and 36th, which is a very busy intersection. They did it in front of a police car, and there was no reaction from the police car whatsoever. And I'd like to know what I should do.
Did you get that number down on that police car?
No, I didn't. I was too astounded. I would like to know for the future what I should do if I see no reaction from a police car to a clearly unsafe situation.
I would ask to do this because if I have officers who are not responding and they clearly see something along those lines, on every one of those cars, there's a number. It's on the quarter panel. You can see it on the new cars that are coming in. We're making it even larger. So those numbers are very prominent that if people see something, whether it's inaction or something that we're not doing properly, that you can call that number in. Rodney Hill is going to make his way up here to the microphone. Not only inaction, but if you see some misconduct that takes place with officers, that's why the numbers are up there to be big, to respond. And like I said, I will follow up on it and see what's going on with the officers and see if there was something else that officer was doing. Were they on the spot watching for a robbery? Were they ignoring that because they were watching something else that was going on? Or if they failed to do their job and do it in an appropriate fashion, I'll address that too. Please feel free. This is Rodney Hill. He's going to give you some information. He's in charge of internal affairs and deals with any misconduct.
Thank you. Good evening. First, in terms of any specific particular complaint, do have one of my detectives here so he can get you information this evening if you like. Anytime you have any complaints about officers, whether it's a minor complaint or more serious complaint, it can be handled my office, 410-396-2300, Internal Affairs. You can call the individual district station. Rocco, raise your hand, please. Way back in the corner. There you go. Thank you. You can call my office. You can call the district stations and ask to speak with the supervisor or ask to speak with the Command Investigation Unit. So we have 3 different levels of handling citizen complaints. Those citizen complaints are investigated either by my division or by members of the command staff. So Major Burris has people who work for her, Command Investigations, who handle what I would call the less serious complaints. All investigations are handled in according to state law. So it's not the mayor's policy, it's not the commissioner's policy, it's governed by state law, Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights, and that's what it's managed by. Thank you. Yes, sir. Twice.
I was going to say twice. Yes, sir.
My name is Ayola from Nigeria and resident of Baltimore. I just want to really give a good compliment to the police department. They are doing a very good job. I think we should celebrate them. Apology to the other residents, because I'm from Nigeria. I know what it is, when you talk about the police department over there. Coming to the United States, it's a different thing entirely. They are doing a great job. I would have been dead by now. I remember about 5 years ago when I was driving taxi, I got robbed. But I thank God because at that point, the police came to my rescue. Now people are complaining about police. They cannot do this job alone. They need the support of the residents. They are doing the best they can. They have the best equipment. You call them in Nigeria, we don't have all these facilities. I think if you travel to my country or some other countries, you will come back here and appreciate what God is really doing for you here. We should give them credits encourage them so that they can do better. You know. And again, moreover, Commissioner, sir, I will encourage, like educational training for some of the police, officers, maybe some classes for them, orient them and all that stuff, especially the new graduates and all that stuff. And hiring the police officers, if you hire I will put it like the people that are well-learned, the graduates, maybe that will help a little bit. If you can increase the standard of hiring, maybe that will help. I don't know. That's just my own point of view. Thank you.
I think there's a lot of opportunities for this police department to grow. And I say this police department, my police department, our police department. And I think the gentleman makes a lot of good points. Doing the job out in the streets of Baltimore is not an easy task. And when we come to meetings, many times you hear people share things that are not working well. But that's an opportunity. That's what we're here for. I'm here to hear from our community, the people who pay my salary, things that are not working well, and my job is to address it, to adjust it, and start asking questions. So I thank you for that, and we'll move on that. But at the same time, you have many officers out here who are doing a very good job. You have officers who are mentors within our community. You have officers who are coaches within our community. You have officers that give an extra within the community too. But as we grow that and improve that, there's a number of different trainings that we're doing. Number one is called legitimacy training. And what that means is to get away from the crime data, to get away from the crime stats. And if you have a community that says that although the stats may say one thing, but I don't feel safe, then that's illegitimate. And so we have to get back to understanding that it's not about the stats, it's about what people say I feel in that interaction. And so that's legitimacy training that we're bringing. Impartial policing training. What we're doing there is bringing out experts, national experts, that deal with bias and bias-related decisions. So we're training and changing culture there. We have community policing training. And it's one thing not just to come out and say we do community policing. You just can't say we do community policing. Part of what I did is promoting this gentleman to start training and educating our staff as a whole on how to do neighborhood policing. As we go forth, we're bringing online a new deployment system. That deployment system is based on neighborhood policing. And what that means is taking the neighborhoods and not just dealing with surface issues, not just dealing with the fact that we took a burglary report and we arrested a person, but to deal with the bigger issue of we have people throwing rocks in our neighborhood, we have kids that are hanging out on the street, we have vacant houses. So we start looking at the root causes of problems and not just dealing with symptomologies of surface. And you just can't tell officers to do that. You have to educate them and you have to teach them. Really, what I like to see is more Baltimoreans becoming police officers here within our community. A lot of my police officers currently are coming from New York, they're coming from Pennsylvania, they're coming from Delaware, and they're coming into the community. And that's not because we're not recruiting. We are recruiting, and we want Baltimoreans to be here. One of the things that the mayor and I are going to tout, and at these meetings that came up, is the mayor says, I want more Baltimoreans here. And she points out that the fire chief, who's not here tonight, I don't think he's here tonight, has a program that he's connecting with the high schools to start the kids early. Well, we started a new program coming out of that because I was jealous that she said that and that she didn't mention the police department. She mentioned the fire department. That was a joke. Come on, give me a break on something, guys. Give me a chuckle or a courtesy laugh on something. You guys are so intent. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. And so what we're doing is that we're starting with the kids when they're 11 years old to 14. And not only we have Explorer Scouts. And remember I told you I came from a tough neighborhood. The reason I wear this uniform today and I believe in it is that I had the opportunity, and police officers were not liked in the community that I grew up in, is that mentoring and connection with an officer that wears this uniform 33, no, not 33, I've been doing this 33 years, but it started when I was 14 years old. So we're trying to replicate the same thing and expand our Explorer program, but we're looking at ways to establish a relationship within this community where people don't see us always dragging their relatives off to jail, but we're building supportive relationships and understanding. And so not only will it help the young people in our community, it'll also help my police officers in knowing how to deal with this community in a different way and making sure that we're a part of the community. So we're moving forward with all the things that you're seeing. We're bringing a lot of training to this organization. We're not doing it one time. We're going to continue to do it because we're trying to adapt and change the culture within the police department. And so we're moving in the right direction.
Thank you, sir. Before we go to the next question, I would like to acknowledge She came in while someone was asking a question. The presence of Miss Marilyn Mosby. Won't you please stand? Councilman Mosby was here earlier. Was he still? Okay, he just left. I know he was here. Oh, it's a tag team. I was told tag team. Okay, that's great. Yes, ma'am. You have a question? I was going to call on the gentleman next to you. But we're going to get a microphone for you.
Suggested that I do so.
Yes, ma'am. Your name and your
Okay, hi, my name is Beth. I live in Hamden. There is a problem with perception of the police. I'm sure you both agree on that. We all want a safer community, all of us. And one of my concerns with the curfew has just been, especially young black men, there's a fear of the police and a fear of what's going to happen. So while I don't have the answer to how to fix that, I also agree when the light came on at home, I was in the house or I was in some trouble, okay? But I don't want to see our young black men being made afraid. I mean, just coming out afraid, like I would like to see something. But the other thing I really wanted to say to you, I live in Hamden. I've been there for 10 years. I came in from Boston. My car windshield's been broken 3 times. My car mirror has been broken 4 times. A bicycle that was locked on my porch has been stolen. Gardening supplies have been stolen, which is kind of odd, right? And when we call the police, they don't come. And when I tell you they don't come, they don't come. Geico was on the phone with me saying, we can't process your claim without a police report. And I'm calling the police and they're saying, we don't respond to these things. And I'm saying, but it costs a lot of money to fix my car, you know? And they didn't come. Another example is approximately 3 months ago, one of my neighbors who drinks quite a lot was beating his roommate. He's beaten his wife. He beats people. And he was beating this man so terribly. I was terrified. Okay, and I called the police and I'm yelling, please come, he's being hurt. 45 minutes later, I called again. And I said, you don't need to come. He's been beaten. He's bad. No one ever came. I reported it. Actually, Mr. Mosby is my council person. I sent him an email. Someone told me, well, then you need to go to IAD and file a report. But honestly, I don't trust that that would make a difference. And I'm not sure there wouldn't be some blowback. Again, about 6 weeks ago, someone had a Humvee that said Hello Kitty on the side of it. So it's kind of hard to steal, but someone stole it. And when the police came to take the report, they were very rude to her. And I said, do you have to be rude to her? I know Hello Kitty is kind of odd, but this poor woman just had her vehicle stolen. He said, lady, we're not paid to be nice. And I get that. But I also want you to know I live in Hamden on West 37th Street, 2 blocks from the Rite Aid. Generally a kind of quiet neighborhood. We have a crack house that nothing ever happens about. But lady, we're not paid to be nice. I want you to know we have a burglar in the neighborhood who's a junkie, and he's increasing in terms of what he's stealing. He does it in broad daylight. And we talk together, and no one wants to call the police about it. So we do have escalating crime in our neighborhood. And again, I refer just to the curfew. We need to be able to trust the police. But honestly, when I don't even see the police in my neighborhood, this is the price I pay to live in Baltimore City. I don't like that, and I would really like that fixed. And I would really like the kids being picked up on curfew to feel safe, and I don't know how that happens because there is a terrible perception problem, based on perhaps some real issues. So thank you. Anything you can do to help us to keep our kids truly safe and to keep our neighborhood safe and to put the safety of our children foremost, thank you very kindly.
So I think both of us are going to answer this. I'm going to start with the issue that you mentioned about the curfew, and I'll just reiterate what I talked about before. This is not something that's new as far as enforcement. So a couple of things. The track record of my administration is a reduction in the number of discourtesy complaints because we're focused on it. Doesn't mean that we don't have any. It means that my commitment is to increase training and sensitivity so we have a better relationship between the community and the police. That's why we've spent a significant amount of time in all 9 police districts and one public safety forum specifically and only for young people to make sure that we are doing the work and putting in the time to repair the relationships that I know and we all know need to be repaired between the police and the community. So I share your concern that the relationship is damaged, and I also made the personal commitment and have spent significant time working to repair those relationships. When the curfew has been enforced before, there have been, we don't have, I don't know of complaints of uneven enforcement. We're getting kids from all over the city. Do we need to ensure that as we roll out the year-round curfew and the connection centers that we commit to making sure that we get it right and increase the training and the type of training to make sure that, yes, we do, and that's what the commissioner spoke to before. Angela Janice, who's the director of the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, is here with her team. She works for the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, but she's out of the youth advocacy community. And her commitment and her interest in working with the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice is to protect that relationship that that we have between the community and the police and enhance it, and particularly as it relates to what we're doing with and for our young people. So our commitment, my commitment, is to make sure that we get that right. You said something that troubled me. With when you talked about the property crime in your community, a couple of things, because unfortunately we do have a lot of, and the commissioner mentioned this, we talked about the crime that's going down, and there's one area that's going up, and it's related to car theft and theft from cars. So we do know that we have an increase in that. We also know that one of the things that we're doing is trying to maximize the resources that we have, and we put into place. And my understanding was it was in the Northern District, and I want to get some clarity from the commissioner. Is that that we have a way to report remotely a theft from auto and get the information that you need from as far as I'm calling it a claim ticket because it's late, but you know what I'm talking about, right? To write a report without an officer being able to be there. Now, if you want an officer, we know because that, the priority list for calls, that's going to be a low priority. But in order to make sure that people don't have to wait for half a day for a police officer to come, it was my understanding they were putting things in place so that could be handled immediately. So if that's not happening, I need to get to the bottom of why that didn't happen. But what you said that was really troubling to me was you said the officer told you that we're not paid to be nice, and you said, do you understand that? I don't understand that. When you take the oath, when I take it, when they take it, it's to serve. And courtesy and respect is part of that service. I do not know if you know or you could describe that officer, if you have any identifying information, anything that you could give us to help identify who said that to you would be helpful. Your councilwoman says that that's a common complaint. That is unacceptable to me. It's unacceptable to me. And Councilwoman, my request to you is as you get those complaints, if you could help me identify those officers, I would. All right. Now I'm making the request to give that to share it with me, because it is that is something. Thank you. It's something I take very, very, very seriously. And I will make sure to follow up with the major and with the commissioner. So to the operational things, I'll turn it over to the commissioner. But I do want you to know that that's unacceptable.
When the mayor, and I'll just like to echo a couple things. When you made that statement where the officer said it's not our job to make you happy, I guess it is. to be nice. You saw the mayor's reaction. You saw the council members' reaction. I echo that. That's unacceptable. We are built to be a service industry. And as I was sharing with you on this strategic plan and what I'm trying to do, is that you pay our salaries. Your tax dollars pay our salaries. We work for you. And our job is to be nice, and our job is to serve. And I tell the officers, if you don't want to be a public servant, you're in a wrong business, because that's what we do. So when you have that, when you see that, that is unacceptable, please feel free to call Internal Affairs. I take that seriously. I'm holding people accountable for that. My conversations within this organization is that that has to stop. Your comments about the fact that there's a separation within the organization and the community. 2 years ago, when I sat down, the mayor said during my interview, what I want to want you to work on is that separation between this police department and this community. All that training that I read off to you is part of adapting this organization to my standards. Part of, and I think it's been happening here for a while, just in START. It's been happening here for a while. So what I have to do is come in and change culture. And changing culture is getting the training there. There's also aligning discipline, and it's also holding people accountable when that happens. That's just unacceptable. And so when those comments come, please let me know, because I guarantee you I will get to the bottom of that and make sure that that's unacceptable from my standpoint, and I'm clear on that. You talked about the 911 center, and the reason what you saw me flipping through the page. I told you that this is a document that are the voices of the community. In these blue lines, what you see are what the community says is most important to the community. The first one is at 98%, and that is violent crime. So what the community is saying, do something about violent crime within the city of Baltimore. The line number 2 is 911 communications at 98%. What echoes throughout the community, not only here in North, but I think almost in all the places that we've gone to with the mayor, is that 911 communication and having officers respond. The mayor has taken very strong steps on that already. 911 doesn't fall under me. It's not connected to the police department. It's a subset, but it's still part of the city. So I'm still part of the team, but it's not directly under my command. One of the things that the mayor and Mr. Maloney had done is brought in a new director. They had recognized this, they saw it, we heard it, and so they've taken a very strong stance and brought in a very experienced person. I think she's been online maybe a month to 30 days. I sat down with her when she came in and said, do you see this document? This is my guiding light. This is what I got to change. I don't have control of it, but I take those hits. And whether it's calling in, not getting officers out there, I need to check the system. Is it in the 911 on the front end, or is it in my officers responding? Whatever it is, I got to find out what's stopping us from responding. When you call in, every one of those calls are recorded. So when they come in and an officer does not respond out there, please let us know, because we will go back and audit and see what's occurring and what's taking place. So we'll make sure. So we are guaranteed and focused on correcting this. This is a mission. This is a focus. Courtesy within this organization, it's not something that we're going to debate. That's unacceptable. We are focused, and we are geared towards changing that, and we're looking forward to changing those things.
All right. I see a few hands. We have time for a few more questions. Yes, ma'am. Yes, please. Mm-hmm. And your name and your question.
My name is Miriam, and I'm currently serving as an AmeriCorps Vista with the York Road Partnership, and my focus is public safety and crime prevention. And at least once a week, I go into a neighborhood in Sector 2 in the York Road catchment area that does not have a lot of representation at these meetings that I go to. And I've been interviewing them with Habitat for Humanity, doing quality of life surveys with residents to see what their concerns are. And I had a resident tell me the other day that they didn't want another park built because they were worried about the drug dealers in the area. And they already saw so many drug dealers during the day selling and using drugs in Alhambra Park that they didn't want another park for the kids in the area. And I guess my question is, what do I tell these residents to give them hope? They don't have faith in the institutions of the city, and they don't have faith in the police department that they're going to protect them and help get the drug dealers out of the area. But on the flip side, she also expressed some gratitude towards the drug dealers because they were providing for the kids in the area. They host barbecues and they buy school supplies for the kids. So while they don't like seeing the drugs happening in the park, they are also grateful for what they are providing. So what do I tell another resident who tells me this? And that's not the first time I've heard it. I've heard it at least a dozen times from various residents in this neighborhood. Thank you.
First, at a visceral level, when we're putting drug dealers up as heroes because they use drug money to supply our community, they're also hurting our community. They're also hooking people and addicting people to heroin and other drugs throughout this community. So I don't see them as heroes in any context, whether they're giving money back or not. So that's the first, at a very visceral level, that's the first reaction that I have. Number two, what I'm starting to hear from a couple different levels is that usually when we're having the burglaries that are taking place here, when we're having the break-ins, they're usually tied to either juvenile crime or they're tied to open-air drug markets. Part of what you're telling me, what I have to go back and look at and the answers that I need to bring up is where are the drug markets in relationship to where you are? And we have to start dealing with it. So there's recidivists that no doubt in my mind are in that area. We will identify them. We will identify that open-air drug market that's there. We will respond. With that, Major Burris, if you can enlighten us on what's happening in that area and the background that has taken place.
Major.
You said Alhambra Park, right? Right there, Alhambra and Willow. Alhambra Park is right there, located at Alhambra and Willow. I actually have our investigative drug units in that area. We recently had an incident up there that they were working with homicide, and they've done some excellent work up there. So they are in the area. You may not actually see them because they are our units that actually wear plain clothes. So they are not going to be in blue and white cars. So for it to be open while we're there, no. Is it open when we're not being seen in terms of the blue and white cars? And I've also placed foot units up in there because of the problems that we've had. So we are there in the area. I have the drug unit there as well as some additional foot units as well. So we are in the area.
Lieutenant Colonel, one of the things, again, I want you to look at following up on. I think what they are saying is conversation is all nice and good, but we want to see some reaction. So within these complaints that have come up, what I want from you is an operations plan on how we address these things. If there's resources or things that you need, bring that to me. But I want all these points picked up, and I want these things to come up at ComStat, and we need to start addressing them.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, in the back, and then I'm going to come up to the front. You don't have to move, sir. We're going to have a mic come to you. All right. I'm going to come up. No, you need a microphone, sir.
I want to address my question to the mayor and the commissioner here. Last time that you ran for office, you had two people run against you, and you said it should be a homegrown. That sounds pretty good. And you was given the impression that the two people who was running shouldn't be mad. I understand that. Now, on the other hand, you turn around and you appoint the police commissioner. He was from out of state. The fire department, he from out of state. The board for school board, they from out of state. Now the commissioner's sitting there saying the same thing that you're saying. He's saying he hiring people from New York, Delaware. So I'm saying, what way are we flying this boat? Backwards or forward? That's all. I want to hear your answer.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you very much.
And after this, Madam Mayor, we're going to have a question in the front of you.
Okay. Thank you very much for being here. I've always been consistent. The way I was raised and the way I think that not just cities but organizations in general are successful is by looking for the top talent. The way I think that Baltimore will continue to be a forward-moving city is to be welcoming, to support people who live here, but to be welcoming to people who want to move here. And I have, I think that there are certain advantages for me as mayor, having grown up here, but I have been blessed to have a cabinet that is full of people who are from here and do an excellent job, and people who are from other places that are doing an excellent job. Every answer to the issues that we have will not be found in Baltimore. We will have to broaden our horizons, and we cannot be limited in the way that we think about how we move forward. Baltimore, I am not going to put a fence around Baltimore and suggest that everything that we need is here, and everything that'll move us forward is here. I think that we have to continue to be welcoming to people of excellence who want to serve our community. That is what I have always stood for, and is what I will continue to do in the future.
I can say this from my standpoint, and I always start by apologizing. And I apologize that I didn't go to Frederick Douglass High School. I didn't go to Dunbar. I didn't go to the high schools, because if you're Baltimore, you got to talk about the high school that I didn't. I apologize. I'm sorry, but I tell you this. You know, I am a man in his mid-50s. My adult life has been focused on and geared towards helping people. I am a servant, and I say that with a lot of pride. The first police department I started at, I wasn't from that city. The second police department I went to, I wasn't from that city. The third police department I'm at now, I'm not from that city. But you know what? All I can say is I'm a man of faith, and I wear that on my sleeve, and I share, and I do the things that I do because I care about people. Now, I may not be from Baltimore, but what I can tell you is that I give a darn about the people in this city, and I want to make it better. I have dedicated my life over 3 different decades making a difference or trying to make a difference in communities. Now, I can't say I'm from Baltimore, but I didn't build these issues that we're talking about tonight. I didn't build these issues that have a separation. I didn't build the things that you guys are complaining about here. But what I can do is try to bring the best that I can to fix them, and number 2, to listen to my community and to make sure that my community understands that I'm a part and I want to make a difference. And so maybe I'm not from Baltimore, but I tell you what, I sure do care.
Yes, ma'am.
And before we go to that, I think the citizens have shown that they are interested in, to an extent where you grew up, how you grew up, but what you want to do in the future. I mean, you have Marilyn Mosby. You grew up in where, Boston, and just won as state's attorney. And I don't think many people looked at your Bostonian upbringing, even though I'm still curious to know what baseball and football team you're rooting for. Yeah. I'm just teasing. You know, it certainly wasn't a litmus test. It was certainly not a litmus test for whether or not they thought you could serve Baltimore well.
Can I also sum up, and then I'll be quiet about that, is, you know, when I talk, I always share with people where I grew up. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, which is just like Baltimore. I grew up, and you can laugh about that, but all the gangs that you have in this city came from where I grew up. They came from the neighborhoods that I grew up in, and I just by the grace of God, I didn't go down that path, but I had many friends who did go down that path. I have relatives that went down that path. My family is actually from this area. My family, I was born in Washington, D.C. Because my family moved to the West Coast. That's where I grew up, but 99% of my family is from here. I have cousins who have been arrested by the Baltimore Police Department. I have cousins that have been addicted to heroin that were in this city. I have cousins that are in Washington, D.C. and on the Eastern Seaboard. I may not have, I got to shut up, because that's my passion that's coming out. So when my passion is questioned, I kind of fire back a little bit. I care. I want to make a difference. I'm sorry.
So, sir, if I may, that's right. I know something you don't know, actually, Commissioner Batts, and I know that's rare. But before you were hired, the mayor sat with over 35 community leaders. And I sat in every one of those meetings. And these were one-on-one meetings. This was not a group meeting. And she basically asked them the question, what are you looking for in a commissioner? And she asked, how important is it that the commissioner be from Baltimore? I can guarantee that 90% of those who answered that question said, Madam Mayor, we're more concerned about qualifications than we are about where the individual was born. So I just wanted to throw that out. The mayor didn't know I was going to say that. The commissioner didn't know I was going to say that. But for the record, I am from Baltimore City. And
What
DC
high
is
school?
close
Prove it.
enough.
What high school?
Yes, ma'am. The question. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Rawlings-Blake, for your leadership. Thank you, Commissioner Batts, for your leadership. Thank you for being a partner with Better Waverly. My name is Sonia Merchant-Jones, and I am the chair of the Better Waverly Community Organization. You know, I've attended a lot of these forums, and I did so because 2 years ago, Lieutenant Colonel Russell had one of his officers call me personally and say, you know, we need to get together citywide, and we did. And he said, we can't heal where we live unless we step outside of our comfort zone. And I have learned a lot. With that said, talking to the young people, all the people in my community, they really want to know that with crime and poverty being such a big business, is there a real incentive to do the things that we continue to meet and to talk about? And will this be a jumping off point? And will we as community members, leaders, residents of this city, have an opportunity to truly have a meaningful partnership to move this wonderful, wonderful opportunity forward that has taken place all over the city? Thank you.
And I love your passion too, and I'm going to have Lieutenant Colonel Russell come up in a second and share what he's been doing throughout the city as a whole collectively. But I think I get myself in trouble because what you've seen here tonight is how I do it is I just say what's in my heart. I'm not trying to be political. I'm not trying to play politics. I just say what's in my heart. And sometimes I get out there and I get spanked for being out there and I say controversial things. But there's things that need to be talked about. You know, I think the norm has to change within our community. And what that norm is that our level of tolerance, and I don't speak for all parts of this community, the level of tolerance of some of the violence that takes place needs to change. And I don't say that for everybody. And you guys, and I'm preaching to the choir, you're here because you're concerned. You're here because you care. So I'm preaching to the choir. But with the things that are happening, the things that I see, when we hear a conversation where drug dealers are put up as heroes within a community and drug money is coming up, there's some serious issues there. And I think the issues will stop. We're going to do everything that we can. The police department is going to be out there. I guarantee you I'm going to push these guys. And I guarantee these things that are coming up in here tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning, I guarantee you I'm going to be getting some answers from it. And I can share those things with you. But the police only can do so much. And with that, at some point in time, the community as a whole has to say, this is enough of this stuff. And I don't want to use that cliche, is enough for trying to say that, but it has to stop. And those people who are making the violence, that are hurting this community, that are taking lives, and unfortunately sometimes the people who are taking lives look like me. And they're taking the lives of people who look like me. And we have to have a conversation about that. And we have to have a conversation in this community about how Baltimore comes together as a whole. That we're not this community, we're not that community, we're Baltimore. And part of Baltimore has to come together and start saying, how do we solve this and have very serious conversations instead of saying, police department, do more. How do we solve that as a police department? I got a couple tools. I can arrest people. Does that always help these situations or does it exacerbate the situation? So I can do arrests. I can have the bully pulpit to have conversations. But at some point in time, the value system has to change, and we have to have that serious conversation. Lieutenant Colonel.
Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Shorty. All right, so real quickly, you know, I love what the commissioner's saying. I totally support the mayor, her vision, the commissioner, the city, and the community as a whole. And I think at the end of the day, like the commissioner is saying, listen, the mantra for all police departments across this nation is to protect and serve. And so we do a really good job at protecting. And the commissioner, when he came in, he wanted to really get a really good balance with that and really put more emphasis also on the service piece. Like you heard the mayor say in the comment that was here up front, and the commissioner saying some things that's not acceptable. When we talked about the officer said, I'm not being paid to be nice. So the way I see this is, and my marching orders from the commissioner is just to really galvanize the communities across this city. Get us talking again, get together again. I don't know about you, but I am a Baltimorean, Polytechnic, go Poly. So what I've seen, I only said it because the mayor went to Western. So the reason I say that is we have to learn to come back together again. If anybody's from Baltimore and know this culture in Baltimore, when we grew up, we took care of each other. We had that village mentality. Now I always ask communities this, and this is what I see my job, getting back to that place. What happened to us? Because there's no way in there's no way in the world we should have now all of a sudden became afraid of those children just because now they're grown up. These are the same kids we've gave Freezy cups to. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. These are the same kids that we used to love when they were little. But now because they're grown up and they're selling drugs and they're on the corner and they're disrespecting us. But I always say this to the communities, we can't be afraid. It's our community. We got to get back into that vein of where we care for everybody. When I was growing up, you didn't see kids on the street at 3 a.m. because we were accountable. We didn't even have to call the police. What are you doing out? You need to get home. And so that's what I see my job is, pulling us back together. And that's what we're doing across the city. So listen, I'm working with the city councilmen, and city council women, and I'm working with city leaders across the city. But most importantly, I'm working with the city community leaders and the people that look just like you. And it's just us coming together and saying, listen, these are our communities. We know what works best in our communities. And we're just simply saying this, as the commissioner always say, we don't want to be occupiers in your community. We want to be partners. Help us, teach us how to be partners with you in your community. Talk to us about what's going to work in your community. Because if we work together, we can get a lot more done. That's all we're saying at the end of the day. So that's all I'm going to say, because I know I can go for a while, so that's it.
So actually, that will be the last note. I'm going to turn it back over to Madam Mayor for closing remarks.
I will say that I know that several of you have questions that did not get answered. I want to thank again anyone who's left here from Loyola to say, I again appreciate your hospitality and making this space available. We strive, every time we're hosted, we strive to make sure that we're respectful of the time limits that were given, because I know that it is not free for the university to have us here. So with that, I will say, as I've said at every meeting, if we did not get to you, we want to, and you have you have the email, so you can to send us the question so we can follow up. To those of you who have come out this evening, I want to thank you again for your willingness to spend time with us this evening and doing the work that I believe will keep Baltimore, will keep us on the track, to be a much less violent city. For the elected officials, current and future, who are here, I want to thank you for being here and for being in partnership. And I know that when I say that, to Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark, I want you to give me that information. I mean it, because we have to. We're not here for show, contrary to the belief of a handful. This is about making sure that we do the work that's necessary to make Baltimore better. And I'm doing it because I do feel like, when you said that police officers said they're not paid to be nice, we are paid to be servants. And that is what I believe in my heart. I grew up wanting to be a public servant, not a public figure. And this, for me, is about the work of making this right. So when I see that we fall short, I'm identifying so we can fix it. Because I know that we have a city that has so much potential, and we have residents like the ones, the many of you who are here, who know that we can be better. And know that if we work together, we can get there. So I want to thank each and every one of you. Thank the officers who are here and who put their lives on the line every day. When you punch the clock to come to work, I'm grateful for your service. And with that, I'll turn it to the commissioner to have the last word. Thank you.
It seems like the council member wants to get up too, so I'll be very short. Major Kim Burris runs this district. Now, she's taking some shots tonight, and I can see from her body language that she's kind of going, ugh. But I also know she works her posterior off. And what we're going to do is work as a team to meet the challenges that you put out there. And because we do serve you, you've put those challenges out, and we're going to stay on top of that. We're going to work with her to become successful and turn some of these things around. I ask that those of you who brought those up, I'm just not talking. Call me. I want to come. I want to see. I want to make sure that she has the resources and abilities to be successful out here, and we'll take care of it. Lieutenant Colonel Keith Matthews, I have faith in him. This is his area. He had one of the toughest areas in the city, the Eastern. That's what he was in charge of. Both these lieutenant colonels do. And for the first time in many years, the Eastern is one of the lowest crime-related parts of our city. The Eastern. And these two gentlemen addressed that, and I promoted both of them for that reason. So Keith, here's your challenge. You were good at what you did in the Eastern. Mel, you were good at what you did in the Eastern. Our customer base here says we have some work to do. I want to make sure that next time we come back, they say we've done a good job. Clear? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. I took a pass in the beginning, but I'm from Baltimore and I graduated from Forest Park. I think that's important. I can't tell you how much I appreciate my mayor, and I know my colleagues agree with me, and my police commissioner. And not only are they dedicated to be servants, they're dedicated to be effective. I watch them. You know someone when you live with them and when you work with them. I work with these young people because I'm old, older, and I appreciate what you're doing. I really do. And I do think one of the major differences now is we are going to be able to really realize how effective you've been in your sincerity to be service, to give service.
Thank you.